Have you ever stopped to think about how many things you have in your home that are simply taking up space? Impulse buys, clothes forgotten in the closet, objects that just sit there without purpose, only collecting dust and stripping away the lightness of the environment. This scenario is common, but now think about the minimalist lifestyle of the Japanese. In Japan, Japanese minimalism goes far beyond having a tidy and beautiful home. It represents a more mindful way of living, where every object has a function, every choice carries weight, and every habit reflects a commitment to simplicity. This contrast between the excess that consumes and the simplicity that frees raises an essential question. Are we making our lives far more complicated than they need to be? The Japanese show that the minimalist lifestyle is not just about aesthetics, but a practical philosophy that transforms daily routines, emotions, and even finances. The simpler they live, the fuller and more prosperous life becomes. Not because they stop spending out of fear, but because they make better choices, more intentional and more aligned with what truly matters. Small habits practiced daily change everything. From the way they organize their spaces to the way they consume, every decision becomes a step toward more balance, more clarity, and more freedom. And that's exactly what you'll discover here. 8 lessons inspired by Japanese minimalism that can completely change the way you live. These are practical teachings used by the Japanese that show how simplifying brings not only lighter spaces, but also a calmer mind, a healthier wallet, and a more peaceful heart. If you apply these lessons, you'll see that Japanese minimalism isn't about giving up, but about gaining more time, more balance, and a truly fulfilling life. So let's start with the first lesson, which may be the foundation of all Japanese minimalism. Learning to value only what is essential. In Japan, people understand that physical space directly influences emotional well-being. A house filled with unnecessary things isn't just disorganized. It transmits mental confusion, anxiety, and even fatigue. That's why, in the Japanese minimalist lifestyle, every object has a clear reason for being there, and everything that adds no value is removed without guilt. This simple habit of looking around and questioning whether something really contributes to your well-being changes the way you live. When you eliminate excess, you don't just create space in your environment, you also create space in your mind and in your heart. This teaching goes beyond organizing closets or getting rid of clothes you no longer wear. It touches something deeper, learning to tell the difference between real needs and momentary desires. The Japanese know that happiness isn't found in accumulation, but in living with purpose. By applying this lesson, you begin to see every purchase decision, every saved object, every corner of your home as an opportunity to choose between carrying a burden or gaining lightness. And this is where Japanese minimalism becomes liberating. Because you realize you don't need that much to live well. And this is only the first step. Because when you learn to value the essential, you start creating an environment that fosters calm, clarity, and productivity. From here on, each following lesson will build on this idea, showing how small habits cultivated in Japan can completely transform your minimalist lifestyle. The second lesson of Japanese minimalism is directly connected to the way the Japanese relate to space. Keeping order as a form of respect for one's own life. In Japan, it's not just about having everything arranged so the house looks nice. Organization is seen as a reflection of the mind. When the environment is clean, clear, and balanced, the mind also becomes calmer and more focused. That's why the Japanese cultivate the daily habit of caring for the space they live in, avoiding the buildup of clutter, dirt, or disorder. This constant care is not a burden, but an act of kindness toward oneself and one's family. In the Japanese minimalist lifestyle, everything has its proper place, and the habit of keeping things in order carries a sense of discipline that goes far beyond the home. It creates an atmosphere where energy flows naturally, where every detail contributes to a feeling of harmony. And here lies the important point. When you organize the external space, you are automatically organizing the internal space as well. The simple act of tidying a table, folding clothes, or cleaning a forgotten corner of the house generates an immediate sense of clarity and lightness, as if you could breathe more freely. This lesson teaches us that organization is not just about aesthetics, but a path to improving the way we think, work, and even feel. When the environment is at peace, the mind finds it easier to rest, to create, and to make better decisions. The Japanese understand this naturally, and that is why Japanese minimalism is so powerful. It's not limited to tidying objects, but turns order into a practical philosophy, where every act of care for space is also an act of care for life. The third lesson of Japanese minimalism reveals something that, at first glance, seems simple but carries a deep meaning: learning to value emptiness. In Japan, empty space is not seen as a lack, but as a presence. It represents calm, breathing room, and balance, different from the common mindset in many places, where we feel the need to fill every corner of the house with furniture, decorations, and objects. The Japanese see emptiness as an opportunity for clarity. It's precisely in that open space that the mind finds rest and the body feels relief. The Japanese minimalist lifestyle shows that it isn't necessary to have every cabinet full, every wall covered, or every moment of the schedule packed. On the contrary, the Japanese understand that an excess of things and commitments suffocates, while free space brings peace. This way of living is an invitation to slow down and to realize that emptiness is not absence, but a space of possibilities. It's as if, by letting go of what isn't necessary, we open the way for what truly matters to enter. And this lesson connects directly to practical life. When you leave empty spaces in your home, you also create empty spaces in your mind. That means fewer distractions, less rush, and more focus on what truly matters. It's a quiet form of active meditation, where each free area becomes a reminder that we don't need excess in order to be happy. In Japan, this understanding is cultivated as part of the culture, and that is why Japanese minimalism has such an impact. Because it teaches us that true value is not found in how much we accumulate, but in the freedom we feel when we learn to live with less. The fourth lesson of Japanese minimalism invites us to look at something we often ignore: the importance of small daily rituals. In Japan, the minimalist lifestyle is not limited to organizing the home or consciously choosing what to keep. It also manifests in the simple gestures that shape everyday life. The Japanese understand that even the most common tasks, like preparing a meal, serving tea, or making the bed, can become moments of presence and calm when done with attention. These rituals transform automatic actions into opportunities for connection with the present moment, bringing peace and balance. What may seem simple in practice has an enormous impact. When you begin to value every detail, you realize that you don't need major changes to find peace. A cup of tea served in silence, a corner tidied with care, a conscious pause to breathe. It's these small gestures, when added together, that build a fuller life. It's as if each ritual were a reminder that simplicity can also be enjoyable and even sacred. This teaching from the Japanese shows that living with less doesn't mean living without meaning. On the contrary, it's precisely in attention to detail that life gains depth. In Japanese minimalism, every small daily habit is seen as an opportunity to strengthen the mind, calm the heart, and cultivate gratitude. By applying this to your routine, you'll notice that simplicity is not a limitation, but a choice of value. Because when we learn to live the present with more awareness, even the most ordinary gestures become sources of peace and fulfillment. The fifth lesson of Japanese minimalism teaches us something fundamental: to consume with awareness and intention. In Japan, especially among those who follow the minimalist lifestyle, every purchase is seen as a choice that goes beyond spending money. It is a decision that affects the space in the home, the balance of the mind, and even the energy of the environment. That's why the Japanese cultivate the habit of thinking before acquiring anything, asking themselves whether it truly has purpose, whether it brings happiness, or whether it will simply take up space without meaning. This care prevents unnecessary accumulation and creates a healthier relationship with consumption. The contrast is clear. While many accumulate objects on impulse without reflection, the Japanese understand that less is more. They prefer to invest in quality, in durable pieces, in objects that withstand time and maintain value. This behavior not only organizes the home, but also strengthens finances, because it eliminates unnecessary expenses and directs resources toward what truly matters. In the Japanese minimalist lifestyle, conscious consumption is a form of respect for money, for space, and even for personal well-being. And this lesson can completely change the way we live. When you learn to consume with intention, you stop being a slave to impulses and begin to take control of your choices. This brings financial freedom, lighter environments, and a calmer mind. Japanese minimalism shows us that we don't need to chase after novelty all the time. The true value lies in living with the essential, carefully choosing each object that will be part of your life. And the more intentional that choice is, the richer your experience of living becomes. The sixth lesson of Japanese minimalism is to cultivate harmony with nature. In Japan, this principle is present in every detail of the minimalist lifestyle, from the architecture of homes to the choice of simple objects made of wood, bamboo, cotton, or ceramic. For the Japanese, bringing natural elements indoors is not just about aesthetics, but about reconnecting with what truly sustains life. Natural light streaming through the windows, a plant in the corner of the room, the gentle sound of water, or even the silence of an airy space transform the home into a refuge of calm. This relationship with nature is not limited to the physical environment. It reflects a philosophy of respect and care for everything around us. The Japanese know that by living in harmony with nature, they are also caring for the body and the mind. Japanese minimalism teaches that life should not be separated from the environment in which we live. The closer we are to natural cycles, whether respecting daylight, the seasons of the year, or the simplicity of materials, the more balanced we become. And here's the central point. When you bring nature into your daily life, you create an atmosphere that promotes calm and well-being. This contact reduces anxiety, increases the feeling of lightness, and reminds us that we don't need much to live in peace. It's enough to make room for the essential, let the air flow, appreciate the light, the greenery, the simplicity of materials that come from the earth. It's a silent reminder that a fulfilling life is found in the connection with what already exists around us. This is the wisdom Japan preserves and shares through the minimalist lifestyle. The seventh lesson of Japanese minimalism is to value imperfection and simplicity. In Japan, this principle is known as wabi-sabi, and it's deeply connected to the minimalist way of life. Unlike the constant pursuit of perfection and novelty, the Japanese learn to see beauty in what is simple, natural, and even imperfect. A ceramic cup marked by time, a wooden table carrying the scars of use, a fabric that is no longer new but still serves its purpose. All of these are valued because they tell a story and hold meaning. This way of looking at imperfection completely transforms the way we live. Instead of always seeking to replace, accumulate, or renew, the Japanese understand that every detail of life can be appreciated as it is. In Japanese minimalism, it isn't necessary to hide the marks of time, but rather to accept them as part of life. This acceptance reduces pressure, eases anxiety, and opens the way to a lighter life. After all, when we understand that we don't need to be perfect, we find freedom to live with greater authenticity. This lesson also touches something deeply emotional. Many times we seek perfection in ourselves and in others, but end up carrying unnecessary weight. The Japanese remind us that life doesn't need to be polished all the time. By accepting the simple, the natural, and even the imperfect, we cultivate more gratitude and serenity. The Japanese minimalist lifestyle shows that it's in the basic, the small, and the imperfect where life reveals itself as full and true. This teaching frees us from the race for more and invites us to appreciate what's already in front of us, just as it is. The eighth and final lesson of Japanese minimalism is to live with purpose and intention. In Japan, the minimalist lifestyle is not limited to organizing the home, reducing consumption, or valuing the essential. Above all, it is a philosophy that teaches us to align every choice with what truly matters. The Japanese understand that a fulfilling life comes from clarity of purpose, knowing what's important, where to put energy, and what to let go of. This awareness guides not only the objects that remain in the home, but also the relationships, the habits, and even the dreams one chooses to pursue. When you adopt this lesson, you realize that simplifying is not about giving up, but about creating space. It's learning to say no to what adds no value, so you can say yes to what brings peace, joy, and fulfillment. Living with intention means turning every day into a conscious choice instead of letting busyness, impulses, or external pressure dictate your path. This is how the Japanese find balance. They don't live to accumulate, but to feel that every step is connected to a greater meaning. And this is where all the lessons come together. From valuing the essential to respecting nature, from accepting imperfection to consuming with awareness, everything converges on this greater principle: living with clarity and purpose. Japanese minimalism is not just a style, but a way to find freedom, lightness, and fulfillment in every detail. And now that you've learned these 8 lessons, the choice is yours: to keep living in the weight of excess, or to gradually apply these Japanese teachings that can completely transform your minimalist lifestyle. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any new content, and you'll help me keep bringing more insights and reflections to you. I truly hope these lessons can make a real difference in your life, just as they have in mine. See you in the next video.